What's up, dudes? Max here, back with an update on the Killer Instinct front. As many of you KI fans know, the game was updated last week, and we had a chance to finally go in and jump back into the online, which had not been working very well over the past month or so. Luckily, it is working just fine now, and just like it used to be. Unfortunately, some fixes to lobby issues, getting booted out of lobbies every once in a while, is still prevalent. That thing kind of always has been there with KI, and it's still there to this day. But they did fix a lot of stuff with Ranked. The game is actually functional now, and we can play games online once again without any worry. The other big update came from the developers themselves as they were talking a little about the future of KI and what's happening with Season 2 and the early release of Season 2, which is happening on September 23rd. What's interesting is that PAX is coming up pretty soon, and I think that there might be something at PAX for KI, because that has been mentioned that the game will definitely be there. There was also notes that the developers were talking about how the game is going to get balance adjustments. We all know that the overall system for KI is going to change quite a bit. They have air combo breakers, air counter breakers, and things like that. So what we didn't exactly get confirmation of before is whether or not the characters are going to get completely rebalanced in some way. And it turns out that it is indeed true. Adam over at Microsoft confirmed for us on the textual stream that this stuff is going to be happening and the characters are getting balance revisions coming up for Season 2. When this happens, we don't exactly know, but we're going to have a pretty good idea that the characters themselves are going to be adjusted coming into the next season of KI, which is really good news. I'm glad to hear that they're doing something different with the game. I do like seeing fighting games updated once every year or so, and Killer Instinct's been out for just about a year now, and if you get these updates and these changes, usually it makes it feel like a whole new fighting game. The thing we don't really want to see is characters get so heavily changed and like heavily nerfed or heavily buffed that it completely throws the game into a huge spiral, but that's what I wanted to talk about right now. Who should they buff and who should they nerf in Killer Instinct, and we're going to go over every character and what I think they should potentially do to each one. Let's start off with the technical poster boy of KI, and it's Jago. Jago's always been an extremely solid character, even from early in development before the game was out, and the entire time there was only one minor thing that changed during or after his release, and it's that his Instinct mode got this buff when you actually did moves. You got more priority and better frame advantage on moves, and that was removed at one point and then actually placed back in. Like, the removal of it was on accident, so his Instinct is still really good once again. The same similar kind of thing happened to Spinal. So most of the characters in the game have not received any crazy adjustments. Maybe some very small and minor things allowing for unbreakable combos have been fixed, but Jago's always been crazy solid. If I was to do a couple of things, I'd probably make some of his normal attacks not as crazy good as they are in the game right now. Many of his normals leave him in a positive situation. His throw range is also extremely good, and he can cancel throws into more damage. He can kind of like throw you and then do an additional amount of damage as a result of using meters. So that's what makes Jago really good, is that he's practically a throw mix-up character because he can turn that into like 20%. And I'd like to see that get a slight adjustment. I think overall Jago's Instinct is totally fine. It's way better than it used to be, where he would just gain life out of nowhere, so I would like to see something small done to his frame advantage moves and potentially his Instinct. And I can't think of a thing that Jago specifically needs buff-wise, so that one's kind of difficult what they're going to do with him, because I don't think he really needs a lot of buffs in general. He kind of almost has everything outside of maybe like dash speed or walk speed, so I'm really curious what Jago's going to end up being like in Season 2, since he's so widely used. He's technically like the most widely used character of all of KI. The next one's a big one, and it's Saberwolf. I think we all know what needs to happen to Saberwolf. His Shadow Eclipse perhaps doesn't need to be full body invincible anymore. I'd love to see that thing get nerfed where it's just upper body invincibility and you can actually hit him out of it low, or something adjusting the speed of it, because it happens in like 0 frames. If he does it in front of you and you're not holding back, you will indeed get hit by it. So I'd probably just, I don't know, make it come out 1 frame slower so that you can actually hold back and still block the thing. Other than that, I think his dash, a lot of people are going to complain about. The big thing I'd like to see made an adjustment to Wolf, and even as an early Wolf player a long time ago, his backdash is very abusable. I'd like to see something done to his backdash at some point, and potentially his Instinct. He's got a good Instinct. His Instinct gives him more damage, but it's kind of just boring. It just only really gives you a damage boost, so I'd like to see maybe something done about that. Mostly nerfs for Saberwolf. I don't think he needs much more stuff. other than the fact that maybe tone down a couple of the crazy, spammy, and kind of stupid things you can kind of do with the dog. Next up is B Orchid, and I think everyone would kind of agree with me. Orchid needs buffs in some regard. The big one I would do is that Flick Flack when she actually goes into the air and does the handstand. Needs to be like low and vulnerable. It is to an extent, but I seem to always have been hit out of it low. And it seems like, wow, this thing should definitely crush lows. That means you can't hit her with low attacks when she does it. I'd like to see that adjustment made. There's some other things between like the Rekka and stuff like that that I might like seeing something done. Other situations where you have some other characters in the cast that are have things like recapture, like TJ does. I'd love to see Orchid get a recapture. That way she could actually like do her jumping air grab and throw you into the ground and recapture you back into a standing state. That would make her really good. And that would also make the air grab even better as well. But who knows? Orchid's kind of a sensitive subject because I think she's already decent. She's a very decent character. She's just not great. But if you do too much, she just ends up being way too good. Glacius, I think, is fairly balanced within this game. He has some bad matchups. Fulgore in Season 1 is a really bad matchup for him. But in general, he's a kind of like a high-skill character. Not as crazy high skill as Spinal or somebody like that, but it takes a little while to get good with Glacius. I don't think he needs a forward dash or a back dash. I don't think he should have that at all. The only thing that I think that might need an adjustment is the fact that he gets these free counter breakers from full screen, and the developers have talked about the combo breaker system quite a bit and how it's changing, so I think the system's going to naturally be changing for Glacius quite a bit. But I would like to see not much done to Glacius, to be honest. I don't think a lot of what he has needs to be nerfed in any way. More so the fact that he's a ranged character, and it takes a while to play him at range, especially when many of your combos and other characters have to get in close and do stuff really hard. Other than that, I think Glacius is pretty good as he is right now, and I hope they don't change too much about him. Sadira is a sensitive subject. This character, even from early in development when she was at like a local playtest, was, wow, she's really good. She kind of breaks the game and has always broken the game. And with the jump cancel stuff and Instinct, that kind of breaks the game completely. And I'd like to see that stuff removed entirely. The web is already extremely good as it is, and even in her Instinct, the jump cancel stuff kind of goes nuts. The only thing I might give her instead is make Shadow Flip Kick. Maybe invincible? Like, do something about that, because she might need a wake-up move if she loses a lot of the ways that she can actually do her unbreakable combos, which is what the majority of people kind of use her for. But she can play a good game in the air, she can play a decent game on the ground, as we saw with KI Finals and CD Jr. using her in the finals during EVO. The only other thing I would potentially like to see in the game entirely is the fact that you can't grab Sadira like ever. The big reason is that if she's in the air, she jumps on the ground, or she jumps and she hits the ground, you can't actually grab her. It's almost impossible in this version of Killer Instinct. So if she just neutral jumps up and down, try to grab her when she hits the ground. You literally can't. And it's kind of an issue of KI where you can't grab people as soon as they hit the ground because the jumping frames are a little weird. It's not like Street Fighter 4 when as soon as they hit the ground, you hit grab and you grab them. You will always whiff. And in this game, if you whiff, guess what happens if you whiff a grab? You get punished like crazy from Sadira with the jumping in heavy kick. Her jumping in heavy kick is also kind of abusable as well, mostly because it crosses up. It does like crazy damage. It opens up your combo with unscaled damage because it's a heavy attack. And that's always what made Sadira really good. So the one thing I would do is kind of change the system where you can grab her when she hits the ground. And then if she has that wake-up attack, she's kind of balanced because she's not as dominant in the sky anymore, because it's kind of abusable. I've always called Sadira the Sea Viper of Killer Instinct, because you just gotta make a guess where she's going. And thank God the game has combo breakers, because you'd just be stuck in that thing the entire time. So Sadira is a sensitive subject, but of course the unbreakable stuff has to go. The Instinct's got to get toned down a little bit in terms of the crazy web stuff, but give her a wake-up attack. Actually give her something to get up off the ground with the Shadow Flip Kick. The next character is Spinal, and Spinal's really interesting because I already know that Spinal's really good. Even early on when you see this character, it's like, man, whoever masters this guy is going to be unstoppable, I feel like. And Spinal is exactly that. If you stick with him, it's extremely rewarding. I feel he's actually one of the most rewarding characters in all of Killer Instinct. He gets hurt by crouching low attacks, like Saberwolf hurts him really hard. He does have some bad matchups, but oh my god, when you get Spinal going, it's like an engine and it just revs the RPMs even higher. he's insane, and I don't really want to see much change to him. Maybe his teleport could use a little bit of throw invincibility just because it's really hard to do something about, like, mix-ups and pressure, but I think he kind of needs to have that weakness because when he gets skulls, man, it's kind of crazy. I'd like to see him get skulls maybe a different way than than just like a grab and the fireball ender. I think being more creative with the skulls and, you know, doing stuff with them could be really good, but I'm almost too worried that too many skulls with Spinal makes him way too deadly of a character. So this one's going to be kind of interesting because I kind of like Spinal the way he is right now, which is the highest execution and the highest skilled character of all of KI at the moment. But when you breach that gap, dude, he's just freaking fantastic and he's freaking amazing. So I'm not too sure. I think maybe his accessibility, something to make him a little bit easier to use, might be a little bit better, but I fear in really high-level competition, he's going to be a freaking monster if he gets too many buffs. Of course, next up is Thunder, and Thunder, in my opinion, is not a very exciting character to play or watch, but oh my god, is he just so freaking solid. Shadow Call of the Earth is one of the best moves in, like, fighting game history, and literally I feel still that Thunder is the greatest grappling character in, like, fighting games ever made. He's so good, and he has a lot of versatility to him. But getting in on some things like Keep Away, like Glacius, if you have really good Keep Away Glacius that knows how to keep Thunder out, it can be hard. I do feel that the projectile invincibility on his uppercuts is a little much. It already having invincibility on the Shadow one is pretty good. I don't know if I would nerf him too much. I might give him something a little bit extra. I'm not too sure what that would be. Something along the lines of him able to close the distance a little better than just having something like Instinct. Because when he has Instinct, he can get in and go crazy. But at the moment, he does so much damage that I might actually nerf the damage output of something like Shadow Call of the Earth down to maybe like 25%, because right now it's just the main resource of how he gets damage. But there's already been a ton of discussions about how the system of the game is changing dramatically, and I think a lot of the system changes in KI are going to affect Thunder greatly. They're going to affect Glacius and Sadira and Saberwolf and even some of the characters that are underpowered, potentially more, because the system is changing overall, which will maybe make Killer Instinct kind of like a brand new game. And that leads me to the last one, which is the last but not least, and the character that is my personal favorite in all of KI, and personally, I think might not be, or technically is the lowest tier character in the game, even though the tiers are kind of matched. He has some good matchups, he has some really bad ones, and of course, it's Fulgore. Fulgore in the current iteration requires you to kind of get the hit first. You need to get that meter as soon as possible, but the biggest problem with him is that unlike every other character in the game, Fulgore has to sacrifice his mix-up options to gain meter, and he also has to sacrifice the fact that he doesn't have a normal meter, and he doesn't get things like Shadow Counter readily available because you need the meter to do cool and really good stuff. And I really dislike that about Fulgore. I think what he does is absolutely awesome. I hope they keep the reactor gauge and building meter, but I hope he actually gets a regular shadow gauge. I think that might be the best way to do something about him, not to change a lot of what he does, just to give him another meter, like let him be able to do things like shadow counters freely without worrying about gaining pips. And sure, you can make gaining pips even slower if he's going to have a second gauge, but just make it so that we can play the same Killer Instinct that everyone else does and have the same access to meter and shadow enders, which is really good in the original KI. You just don't want to sacrifice that because Fulgore needs it, dude. He needs those pips really bad. I think Devastation Beam is a great idea. Fulgore's get a lot of damage from that, but even from the general consensus and a lot of people that have always talked about playing Fulgore in the new KI, or even Season 1 of Fulgore, I mean, not a lot of people like him. He's a very difficult character to grasp, and how you have to get good with him is not easy. I'd love to see them potentially do things with more creative ways of getting meter. For example, if you did the triple-double, this could be a good way to balance it without giving him shadow meter and just having the pip gauge. If you did a heavy version, that might give you 2 pips. If you did the light one, that doesn't give you any, but if he does the medium one, it gives you 1. I don't know, I would like to see something along those lines, where it's just easy for him to acquire pips when he's in a combo, and the triple doubles might be the best way of doing that, but Fulgore is the thing that I want to see change the most, potentially, in the new KI. I think he looks fantastic. I would love for them to do something about his alternate in some way. I think his alternate kind of didn't translate very well, and I still think it's cool to look from a certain angle, but from other angles he looks pretty damn thick. But let me know what you guys think about the potential balance adjustments to characters in Killer Instinct Season 2. And hopefully we're going to know more coming up to the release of Season 2 about the overall potential adjustments, changes, and system mechanics that will be different for the upcoming version of the game. I'll also be checking to see if there's any possible way that I can do coverage on this stuff, so if you guys want to stay tuned, just like we did before getting TJ footage and everything, we might have some more coverage on this stuff coming up in the near future. I appreciate a subscription if you guys are looking forward to more Killer Instinct Season 2 news, and as always, we'll have coverage of all the new characters and all the adjustments as soon as they come out, including brand new week ofs. As always, guys, thank you all very much for watching. What would you do to some of these characters, and what's the character that you dislike the most in Killer Instinct Season 1, and what's the character you like the most as well? My name is Maximilian, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.